Let me also bring in our guest now. Mohammad Rafiuddin, the program lead for CEEW, joins us next. Rafiuddin, I want to understand from you why this is so critical. Like I said in the beginning, the first time I'm actually seeing the needle move when it comes to some pollution measures being taken. We know by now that at least 50 to 60% of pollutants in the national capital, especially PM 2.5, comes from our vehicles. More from two-wheelers and four-wheelers, of course. But with this step, what exactly are we expecting?
So you're right when you said that large share of the contribution comes from transport. But I guess PUC regime itself will not be able to solve this because the way to solve this is to actually have restrictive measures on vehicles while also giving the people who are restricted to choose other forms of transport. For instance, having adequate public transport to cater to the demand that will be created by restricting these vehicles. Now, why I say the PUC regime itself is not sufficient is the PUC measures a very limited set of parameters. And it doesn't actually measure the particulate matter that's coming out of the vehicles. It looks at carbon monoxide and other constituents. So there are plans to upgrade the PUC regime to a better regime, which measures particulate matter and other things. And the second thing is that PUC is a decentralized measurement system wherein you're going to a petrol pump and you're getting your PUC check, right? So there is a lot of opportunity for you to game the system also, and sort of I would say I would go on to the extent to say manipulate the readings too. So PUC I don't think is a foolproof system at the moment. It's obviously being upgraded, but unless you're restricting the vehicles on road, this problem is going to persist.
But isn't BS6 as a filter a way to restrict vehicles on the road? Do you think that works? I understand it's only for Delhi and everything else, continues as is. But do you think that helps?
Yeah, definitely. See, BS6 is much cleaner compared to, say, BS4, and obviously several times cleaner compared to BS3. And the fact that India has actually skipped BS5 and leapfrogged to BS6 is itself, a landmark thing that we've done. So obviously, it's a stringent standard, and restricting only to BS6 vehicles will definitely bring improvements. But the fact is that even with BS6 vehicles, we have a lot of vehicles on the road. The volume itself is so high that unless you cut down this number also through some means and shift these people to public transport in some way, you're not going to see measurable reductions in particulate matter. Of course, there will be some reduction, but it will not be a drastic reduction in the particulate matter situation that you're seeing right now.
I see. So I'm trying to put the whole picture together. You have
Yes.
PUC, you have BS6 restriction, you have 50% mandatory work from home, and you have hybrid for school. All of these put together in stage 4, which is GRAP 4 basically, actually everything apart from odd even has been applied now almost. Do you think we are still missing odd even right now?
So some countries have tried odd even and have found success. For instance, China, for example, tried odd even, and in Mexico there was a famous program where people initially voluntarily let go of their cars once a week, and then it became like a mandatory program, government-backed program, and it also showed measurable reductions. So the fact of the matter is, when you're not putting 50% of your vehicles on the road, obviously you'll see dip in concentrations, and that is something that we've also seen as a natural experiment when COVID hit and vehicles were forced to get off the road. We saw drastic reductions in particulate matter and other constituents like nitrogen dioxide and other pollutants across the country, not just in Delhi. So obviously, when you take out vehicles and reduce activity on the road, you will see measurable reductions in concentrations. And the current GRAP restrictions on, for example, mandating work from home play a role in
50%
enabling that.
though, actually, yeah.
Yeah, but play a role in enabling that. Like, for example, if a lot of private companies ask their staff to work from home, then you're reducing in unnecessary commute.
Yes.
either in their whether in their private vehicles or burdening the public transport system, which is already stretched, right? So that will bring down concentration levels, but it cannot be like a temporary measure that's like put in and then taken off. So we need to figure out how we are going to make it a long-term measure so that we have sustained reductions instead of say piecemeal
I think
reductions
that's
once.
an excellent point. Are you suggesting then that we move to BS6 throughout the year and we move to BS6 across North India? Not just Delhi, but knowing fully well that the air we all breathe does not have borders. And it's not like Delhi lungs are different from, a human being in Noida or Gurgaon. Do you think that's where we need to go to for a sustained effort to bring down vehicular pollution?
So it cannot just be BS6. Obviously, it has to also include electrification.
Yes.
For example, there is opportunity to electrify your commercial fleet, your small transport that happens within the cities through the light commercial vehicles. They can obviously be electrified, and there are the technology is already available. The technology is already available for two-wheeler electrification, for example, and we've also seen a lot of electric cars on the road now. The objective obviously is to move towards cleaner fuel, but at the same time look at how we can accelerate the electrification. So ultimately, when you move all the vehicles to electric, then all your tailpipe emissions are gone. So now we'll have to deal with other forms of pollution, like for example, you call it non-exhaust emissions. That's the dust that getting resuspended in the air due to vehicular movement. But that's a different problem to solve altogether. But at least if you want to reduce your tailpipe emissions, one, you'll have to move as much as possible to electrification. Where electrification is not possible, you'll have to move towards cleaner fuel standards like BS6, and we'll probably see BS7 also in the future, coming in 1 or 2 years.
Okay, last question really, Mohammed. I want to understand from you. Today, the government, there were meetings today that were held at the national level as well. We are made to understand that Delhi Environment Minister was also called in. There were meetings, etc. But for me, the issue is largely that we are not engaging with other states. We are not engaging with a Haryana and a UP and a Rajasthan and a Madhya Pradesh, all of them put together, and then talking about, in fact, even our metros, where again the issue is of vehicular pollution, of construction, etc. Today, if vehicular pollution were to be looked at in isolation, just fixing that one piece of the puzzle, is that going to be good enough to at least better the air by say 20%, 30%? Is that ballpark, does that make sense?
Right. So if you look at the numbers in winter, according to the air quality decision support system, Delhi's own vehicles, Delhi's own transportation sector contributes to 14% of the air pollution. Now here we are including NCR sources and Delhi sources together. Now if you just look within
Transportation sector,
Delhi's
you mean only like buses and other vans
all
and other
vehicles,
trucks, etc.
all vehicles,
Or vehicles,
commercial
okay,
vehicles,
okay.
private
Come on.
vehicles.
Okay, okay.
So if I just zoom into Delhi's own boundaries, I don't look at sources from outside. If I just look at that pie, then within that pie, transportation contributes to 50% of Delhi's PM2.5. So solving the problem within Delhi itself can give you a lot of gains, but like you said, coordinated effort across states, right, will get us the gains faster. The reason is the vehicles that are registered in Haryana, the vehicles that are registered in UP, they come from Noida, they come from Gurgaon into Delhi. There's free movement to and fro. So it's not like you can solve the problem only within Delhi and expect gains, because you have to solve it NCR wide, which is why the CEEW
Absolutely.
makes this to coordinate between all these states and have a coordinated plan that works for all these states. So solving for transportation itself can definitely give you that 20-30% gain that you're talking about. That reduction can definitely come from this sector alone.
Right. So, well, I think that's for me is the silver lining. If you're able to just, because it's a mammoth task to solve for India's air, right? It's a mammoth task because we're a complicated country with lots of little things to sort of take care of. We are spread across, different working class groups, and, it's difficult to enforce at the cost of somebody's livelihood, at the cost of kids staying at home, at the cost of, people not reaching work. So in case, if this one piece of puzzle can be solved, we would have solved at least 20% of the pollution problem. The question now is, Beijing is offering help. Our experts are telling us this. Will the government act? That's the one-point agenda that we really want to see. For the moment, I'll thank you for joining us with the very latest.